exposure to the art and craft of writing is quite another thing. Through this workshop, we intend to alert the participants to the rules, if any, of creative literature, and as well as hone their skills and unleash the potential writer or author in them. We have a very distinguished team of experts, which includes Amal Chatterjee, Professor Benilda Danova, and Farah Bashir, whom we'll be duly introducing. With their respective expertise and insights, we are sure that the next 3 days will be an enriching and educative experience for the participants. I now invite Professor Nusrat Jan, Head, Department of English, to kindly deliver the welcome address.
Thank you, Dr. Ifat. It is my pleasure and privilege to welcome the Registrar, University of Kashmir, and Chief Guest of this event, Dr. Nisar Ahmed Mir, the Dean, School of Arts, Languages and Literatures, Professor Adil Kak, and our esteemed resource person from Ambedkar University, New Delhi, Professor Bilender Dhanua. A warm welcome to other invited guests, colleagues from the department, research scholars, and students. Thank you all for attending the inaugural session of this 3-day workshop on creative writing organized by the Department of English. The Department of English, I am proud to say, is one of the oldest departments in the University of Kashmir. Established in 1954, it boasts of a rich legacy and a long history of commitment towards excellence. The department continues to strive for the same in teaching and research and fostering a spirit of critical inquiry among students and research scholars. The department offers postgraduate courses in its main and satellite campuses and enrolls nearly 200 students every year. The syllabuses for both undergraduate and postgraduate levels are regularly updated to keep pace with emerging trends in literary studies and English language teaching. With the University of Kashmir taking the lead in adopting NEP 2020, the department too revised the English syllabus at undergraduate level for a 4-year undergraduate program, while also framing ability enhancement courses for all streams. In June this year, the department came out with English 4, the latest in the series of English textbooks prepared by the department for undergraduate level for colleges affiliated to the University of Kashmir. Published by Cambridge University Press, these textbooks are aimed at providing a comprehensive approach to the learning of English literature and language. This series will serve the new scheme as well. As part of its outreach program, the department collaborated with the University Center for Career Planning and Counseling to offer coaching for IELTS. The admission process for coaching got stalled due to COVID, but we are sure that there will be many takers for this coaching in near future. The department has set up a language lab which will facilitate language learning for these aspirants as well as for other students interested in English communication skills. The department puts on record its gratitude to the university authorities for their financial support in the installation of this laboratory. The Registrar, Dr. Nisar, deserves our special thanks. He will be inaugurating the lab after this inaugural event. Our faculty constantly updates itself to meet new challenges and improve themselves. 2 of our faculty members, Dr. Ifat Maqbool and Dr. Tasleem War, attended the British Council training for trainers and are now certified IELTS trainers. This year, Dr. Tasleem War has also been granted 3-year associateship at the Indian Institute of Advanced Studies, Shimla, a commendable achievement indeed. Our PG students too brought laurels to the department this year. They have participated in co-curricular activities and picked up prizes in debates, painting competitions, and sports events. One of our students was selected for the Young Women's Transformative Leadership Program at Chandigarh, which was sponsored by United Nations Women, while another was invited to participate in the Iowa Writers' Workshop in the US. As far as academics is concerned, the department has a robust research program in place, with research being carried out in diverse areas. The department promotes interdisciplinarity and tries to integrate literary concerns with broader cultural and social debates. The department has an excellent placement record, with most of our students absorbed in well-reputed institutions. Apart from many publications of individual faculty, the department annually publishes a quality refereed journal, English Studies in India. With an advisory board of distinguished national and international academics, we are working towards its inclusion in the UGC Care List. Like other English departments in the country and elsewhere, the department too is broadening the English canon with the introduction of local and indigenous literatures through English translation. At the PG level, we offer courses in Kashmiri, Urdu, and Persian literatures in translation. From this year, Kashmiri literature in translation has been introduced even at the undergraduate level. The department has always considered translation as a worthwhile academic pursuit, something emphasized now by the new education policy as well. Currently, the department is involved with the translation of the poetry of renowned Kashmiri poet Rahman Rahi into English. We are nearly through with the translations and hope to bring out a bilingual anthology of Rahi's poems soon. Our faculty is invested in translation activities at an individual level too. In September this year, Dr. Mufti Mudassir did the department proud with the publication of his Urdu translation of the Persian poetry of Ghani Kashmiri. His translation of the whole Diwan is the first of its kind. Dr. Mufti's English translation of the 19th century Kashmiri poet Mahmud Ghami will also be out soon. Published by Penguin in their Classics series, this is another outstanding contribution towards extending the reach of Kashmiri literature. Despite the pandemic, which disrupted academic activities everywhere, the department took extra measures to keep academic conversations going. Taking advantage of the online mode, the department organized a monthly lecture series and connected with distinguished academicians within and outside the country. Our scholars and students got a chance to interact with faculty from Columbia University, Cambridge University, Boston University, Georgetown University, to name a few. This year too, we hosted virtually academicians from reputed institutions like University of Sheffield, Cornell University, University of Virginia, Purdue University, and had them deliberate on a wide range of topics. The department also organized a 3-day webinar last year and two online workshops this year. One was on research methodology and the other was a 3-day workshop on memory studies organized in collaboration with Center for Memory Studies, IIT Madras. The aim of these workshops was to address problems faced by our research scholars and also keep them abreast with new developments and advances in literary studies. With the situation improving, the department was also able to organize a number of extension lectures and host visiting professors in person. It is a matter of deep satisfaction and pleasure that most of the sessions of this 3-day event will be conducted offline. For a long time now, our students have been pressing for a workshop that would focus on writing. Though a creative writing workshop is not really intended to teach writing skills, it does, however, enable writers to hone these skills. In fact, a workshop of this nature forces us to ask whether creative writing can even be taught. As students of literature, we cannot but recall Keats's remark, and I quote, "If poetry comes not as naturally as leaves to a tree, it had better not come at all," unquote. This clearly affirms that poets are born and not made. Poets, and by extension creative writers, are inspired and not tutored. As Ghalib puts it, "Aate hain ghayb se mazamil khayal mein," or as Plato says, that poets utter great and wise things which they do not themselves understand. Having said this, creative writers have always confessed that inspiration needs to be tempered by discipline. Thoughts and ideas have to be worked into a shape. The process of creating is accompanied by selection, arrangement, rearrangement, structuring, and restructuring. Good writing entails revising, rewriting, or to put it simply, good writing is hard work. As Iqbal puts it, "Har chand ki ijaad-e maani hai khudadad, koshish se kahan marde hunarmand hai azad." The art lies then, to use Yeats's memorable phrase, in making the stitching and unstitching seems a moment's thought. I quote Yeats's line in full. "A line will take us hours maybe, yet if it does not seem a moment's thought, our stitching and unstitching has been naught," unquote. A workshop on creative writing might not produce creative writers, but can help and guide promising writers in this process of stitching and unstitching. It can provide the training and discipline required for good writing and can enable aspiring writers to find what one can call their writerly voice. Creative writing workshops can help them realize their potential, expand their thinking processes, and encourage them to master the mechanics of writing. Creative writing courses are offered in major universities around the world and are not limited to literature students, but cater to aspirants from journalism, films, social sciences, in fact, any field where a good, engaging, and engrossing narrative is needed. Keeping in mind the proliferation of online platforms, the thriving culture of blogging in today's world, good writing is in great demand everywhere. We in the department too have tried to respond to this demand and have organized this hybrid workshop with the aim of enabling our students explore and experiment with meaning-making processes and provide them tools for engaging and creative expression. I am thankful to the resource persons who agreed to be associated with our venture. Professor Bilender Dhanwa, who joins us in person, is a writer and artist. Currently, she teaches creative writing at the postgraduate level at the School of Culture and Creative Expression, Ambedkar University, New Delhi. A very warm welcome to you, ma'am. Thank you for agreeing to share your expertise with our students. We will also be joined by online by two resource persons. Amal Chatterjee is Senior Course Tutor for the University of Oxford's Master's Program in Creative Writing. He teaches creative writing online for the University of Oxford and in person at the Paris Institute of Critical Thinking. Born in Sri Lanka, Amal Chatterjee was brought up in India and is resident of various countries in Europe. He writes both fiction and non-fiction. His novel, Across the Lakes, was shortlisted for the Crossword India Best Novel Award in 1998, while his non-fiction has appeared in publications like The Independent, Huffington Post, and Hindustan Times. Amal runs workshops and courses in creative and academic writing in Aarhus, Amsterdam, Glasgow, Paris, and Prague. It is an honor that he consented to tutor our students as well. I extend my deep gratitude to him. Our next resource person will also be joining us online from the UK. Farah Bashir, born and brought up in Kashmir, joined the Department of English, University of Kashmir, for some time, and then went on to pursue her Master's in English Literature and Media Studies from National University of Singapore. A former photojournalist with Reuters, Farah is currently working on her new novel at the University of East Anglia. Her acclaimed memoir, Rumours of Spring, A Girlhood in Kashmir, came out in 2021. Described as poignant poetry in prose, it was published by HarperCollins. We are proud to have our alumna, I think we can call her that, as one of the resource persons for the workshop. I'm sure our students will be inspired by a fellow Kashmiri's artistic journey. A word about the participants in this workshop. We have limited the number of participants to 40, which Professor Bilender tells me is still a very large number, but we had to we limited it to 40 to allow for an involved interactive sessions. These participants comprise our final year students, the fourth semester students, research scholars from the department, along with a few research scholars from other disciplines. A doctor and a journalist are also participating. The participants are bound by their deep interest in creative writing, while a few aspire to be writers themselves. I end with these words and hope that the workshop provides an enriching and stimulating experience for everyone involved. Thank you.
Creative writing. What is it? And as Professor Nusrat has already asked, can it be taught? How is it different from academic writing or technical writing or copywriting or journalistic writing or any other category of writing? When we say creative writing, do we mean fiction writing? I'm somewhat uncomfortable with adding the word creative as a prefix to the word writing. I do accept, however, that it is a way of constructing categories and distinguishing between the many ways in which we use the act of writing. Like speech, like the world's languages, all writing is creative. Sometimes it is imaginative writing, and sometimes it is expository or critical writing, but usually there is an overlap between them. Of course, writing can be taught and learned. What everybody is hunting for is the pedagogic key to creativity, the metaphoric knack to teach teachable matters like metrics and syntax and recombine and transform them into something entirely innovative, producing writing in a style which is not yet heard or seen. As a writer, creative writer, unlike, say, the writer of an aircraft design manual, how you write is as important as what you write about. As Robert Frost has said, all the fun is in how you say a thing. Just think about it. We don't burden other taught art forms with the first name creative. We don't talk of going to classes in creative music, creative painting, creative dance, creative film, or creative acting. We think it's implicit. We would feel that teachers were selling their students short if they were not teaching elements and techniques of creativity specific to those art forms during classes or workshops. The talent that students bring might simply be an inclination for practice, to try things out day after day. As the theatre director Peter Brooks commented, scales don't make a pianist, nor does fingerwork help a painter's brush. Yet, a great pianist practices finger exercises for many hours a day, and Japanese painters spend their lives practicing to draw a perfect circle. Without constant schooling, the actor would stop halfway. Like athletes, singers, and dancers often keep their teachers with them throughout their working life. Once writers are pushed into the world, they are left to fend for themselves. Writers must keep their hands in as regularly as practitioners of other art forms must. Creative writing provides a period of constant schooling and the space and time to practice in language and form, for writers also stand in danger of stopping halfway. Constant schooling is a habit of mind that the teaching of creative writing can inculcate. To come fresh at knowledge, despite our learning, is to acknowledge that we are constantly beginners. It is what opens the mind to illuminations in research and in the imaginative ability and growing fluency of the writer, the painter, or even the surgeon. I think you had mentioned this in your address as well. We are often told that we are born with creativity and sometimes without it, and that the ways in which we socialize and educate children through the myriad structures and institutions that we encounter through our lives, creativity is slowly suppressed and we become obedient members of our societies and cultures. How does this affect the way we think about the word creative when we place it before the word writing? If the word creative means the ability or the power to create, if it means imagination, vision, inventiveness, ingenuity, originality, we would agree that much of writing is creative. I could go on at length about the demands that different forms of writing have and how each calls upon these various descriptions we have of what is creative to different degrees. But if we put it briefly, much of it is dependent on how each form of writing can call upon its claim to truth. This also speaks to the hierarchies produced in how we categorize the written word and how often we identify this in writing by a claim to objectivity, of objectivity as being somehow closer to truth than speaking or writing from a subjective space. These ideas, however, have now long since been challenged both by feminist and post-colonial theorists who point out the impossibility of speaking from a purely objective space. But of course, this would call for a much longer discussion, so I'm going to move on from there. As we do in the Ambedkar University, in the literary art program where I teach, many university creative writing courses place an equal emphasis on the study of literature and theory and the practice of writing. Out of a belief that criticism must rest in balance with creativity, many writing courses are asked to require that students submit for assessment a reflective essay or a dissertation, a commentary, on the aims and processes involved in writing their portfolio of creative writing. At our school, at the Literary Art program, it's a 2-year master's degree program, so the student has the opportunity to build up a portfolio of writing, and they are expected then to write a dissertation on their own work. In these dissertations, you reflect on the aims of your writing and the process, for example, of drafting, by which it is arrived at its final form. You also give critical attention to your own writing. For example, the affinities you might feel it has with the work of other authors, and also by placing your work in any intellectual, aesthetic, social, or other context you feel it should be seen in. We believe that reading lends you knowledge, knowledge offers you power, but self-knowledge helps you understand the shaping of your abilities. Now, given the diversity of interests, both in subject matter and forms of writing in our classrooms, teaching writing requires close work with individual students. It is an intensive process that requires participation and commitment from both students and teachers, particularly in those courses that use a workshop model. Through this, the student not only receives critique and advice, but also learns to be part of a community of writers who are able to comment on and make suggestions to their fellow writers. For all that commitment or familiarity, creative writing is not a mystery. One of the purposes of the academic discipline of creative writing is to demystify itself without falsifying its intricacy. Creative writing can be opened and learned like any craft, like any game of importance. You become a good writer just as you become a good carpenter by planing down your sentences. This is a quote from Anatole France. We return then to the questions. Can creative writing be taught? Can creative writing be learned? It's really the same, they are both really the same question. But you hear it often posed as a challenge rather than a genuine inquiry. If we are born creative, why do we need to learn more about it? So we see it more being posed as a challenge rather than a genuine inquiry. The novelist David Lodge concluded, even the most sophisticated literary criticism only scratches the surface of the mysterious processes of creativity. And so by the same token, does even the best course in creative writing. Writing is not painting, neither is it systemized knowledge, it is not empirical science. Teaching and learning writing is not like teaching and learning medicine. Yet, we should keep in mind that the pleasure of creativity illuminates aspects of knowledge that we regard as non-literary, especially if we begin to accept the arguments of cognitive science that the literary mind is the fundamental mind, not a separate kind of mind. Alongside many other neuroscientists, Mark Turner contends that story is a basic principle of mind, and the parable is the root of the human mind, of thinking, of knowing, acting, creating, and plausibly of speaking. Writing is an extreme act of attention and memory. It pleads with your brain cells to make new connections. As neuroscientists put it, neurons that fire together wire together. And inspiration could be more natural to and more nurtured in a writer because they simply read the world and the world of literature a little closer when they were children, when they were growing up through their lives. Your brain interacts with itself, hearing words, seeing words, speaking words, and generating verbs. These functions occur in widely spaced sections of the brain. Creative writing commands these different departments of self to start cooperating, and they will, by stretching out synapses over relatively huge neural distances, wiring up. What else are they going to connect with on the way? What monsters or angels could be imagined into being? This is how writers are made, how the nanotechnology of your imagination is intricately and provisionally constructed. We are capable of developing complementary senses, sight with sound, taste with touch, time with hearing, or all the senses simultaneously transmitted through the medium of one line of poetry or one paragraph of description. This is how your imagination talks to itself, talks across itself even, and becomes more versatile. Creative writing, or for a writer, the metaphor is an art of attention seeking, of asking you to perceive something anew, to perceive something afresh. Creative writing is the art of defamiliarization, an act of stripping familiarity from the world about us, allowing us to see what custom has blinded us to. Metaphor has power and permutation almost like a magic force. Metaphor is a transfer of meaning in which one thing is explained by being changed either into another thing or into an emotion or idea. In metaphors we live by, Lakoff and Johnson, two scholars, contend that metaphorical thought is normal and ubiquitous in our mental life, both conscious and unconscious. The same mechanisms of metaphorical thought used throughout poetry are present in our most common concepts: time, events, causation, emotion, ethics, and business, just to name a few.
It's a matter of pleasure that the Department of English, University of Kashmir, is organizing this seminar on creative writing. The Department of English has been touching new heights, more so under the capable leadership of Professor Nusrat and her colleagues are always there to assist her in any way possible. The department is doing commendable academic work, and its students and research scholars are performing well, and I wish them success in future endeavors. Coming to the present workshop, I have always felt that there is a storyteller in all of us. We always narrate our stories, whether they are boring or not, whether they are interesting to people who want to listen to them or not. So, but some time back, there was a creative workshop thing, and I was sort of invited over there, and it got me thinking, do we really need somebody to teach us how to write creatively? Now, the thing is that we have good storytellers and we have bad storytellers. Sometimes the story is very good, but the person who is, telling us the story, he doesn't know how to do it. So I feel that, getting some pointers in the right direction as to how we should get our story right, how to, tell a story which can bewitch, which can fascinate others. I think that's the whole point. And I think, having this workshop is really good. And as a matter of fact, I was looking at the schedule and trying to see if I'll be able to, join. Then I heard Professor Nusrat saying only 40, so I think there are no vacancies over there. But anyways, I've asked her to record all the sessions, so maybe some of us may be able to, watch it later and probably benefit from it. So I can only wish that those who attend the workshop, they find something good out there and try to become good writers. We really need good writers right now. Okay, and so instead of reading literature of other people, let us read your literature. I wish you best of luck, and to the department as well. Thank you, ma'am.
I have found Department of English, what Nusratji was saying, that it is the oldest department. But I have also spent now almost 30 years as student, as scholar, and an employee of this university. I have not found it only the oldest department, but I have found it the finest department of university. I still, the oldest building of our university is the arts block, which is known only by the English department. And now we have shifted to the new humanities block, but the oldest, which is the founding, the first building of this university, which has been probably foundation stone laid in 1948. The Department of English created a niche in the university. That is why it was known by that name. So congratulations to the Department of English, and stalwarts have always been there in the Department of English. Slightly, we see that the students of University of Kashmir, I always tell Dr. Nusratjee, and earlier also I used to tell it to Dr. Lily and Dr. Trali, slightly the Department of English, the students, because we get the finest department, we get rather the cream of students from Valley at least, as our students in the Department of English, and I am always proud of the students in the Department of English. Coming to today's workshop, it is not possible to give a definition to creative writing because it has a vast field, but I saw one definition which I felt is good and I will share with you. Somebody has written that any type of writing that is original and expressive of oneself. So probably because it gives, one has to express himself or herself, probably it gives one among the various definitions of the creative writing. At the University of Kashmir level, under the guidance and under the directions of Honorable Vice Chancellor, we try to facilitate all the departments in any academic research or any developmental activity. We are of the opinion that slightly in the University of Kashmir we focus more on the science departments. Because one reason is that science departments probably need slightly more infrastructure, more labs and more funds. But since Honorable Vice Chancellor has assumed has taken over as Vice Chancellor of University of Kashmir, we try to focus on other departments as well, particularly arts and languages. We try to focus on it, and my Vice Chancellor always says that whatever is required from administrative side, we don't have any shortage of funds, alhamdulillah, and we are trying, we are ready to fund, rather support any sort of academic or research activity which is being initiated or which will be initiated by the department, any department in the Faculty of Arts or in the Faculty of Social Science. I again wish you all the best for next 2 days, and I wish the students and scholars will put their mind and their heart to the workshop, because it is this is the experience, or this is the occasion where you will learn for the lifelong. Thank you all.